Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a chat about an aircraft I just spaded. With the Flapjack event going on, it's time to go back to air and time for me to grind out some of the vehicles that I've been kind of sick of for a while. One of the problems of the area that I'm at in air is I basically at every single tech tree have exactly the same vehicles to play. I either spade my 5th or 6th F-16 or my 4th or 5th Tornado or my 5th or 6th F-104 and it just goes around, or MiG-23 or MiG-21. Pretty much every tech tree, apart from really France and areas of Sweden, feel exactly the same nowadays, and therefore it can be a little bit rough to go through them. The other weird thing about it, of course, is at the same time, one of the problems is everybody just plays the premiums. So if you're playing at BRs where there aren't premiums, but the premiums are higher BR than you, guess what? You get up-tiered into them with vehicles that aren't spaded, and at the same time, vehicles which usually don't get played, so they don't have decent BRs because they don't actually get moved to the areas where they should be. Welcome to the F-104G for China. This is a Taiwan F-104, and it is the worst F-104 in terms of where it is in the tech tree. This vehicle is laughable at its BR. It is completely ridiculous it is still there. It has a what would be classed as legacy BR because of the fact that nobody plays it. While playing it, I saw 0 of these around the place, and I'm not surprised because when you have the J7D, which is at the same BR as this, a premium vehicle in the Chinese tech tree, which is functionally better than it in every single way, apart from maybe a little bit of top speed, it's, of course, is never going to get played. The J7D has 4 Magic 1 missiles. It has a 23mm, which is worse than the Vulcan, so that's kind of your little advantage you have there. And then also the J7D has countermeasures, which the F-104G doesn't, and at the same time it has way more maneuverability, which makes it a lot more fun to play instead of just being basically a dart, which is what the F-104 is. So it's just hilarious that they're the same BR. The fact that the F-104G doesn't have any countermeasures at the 10.7 BR is criminal. And then you have the people who come along and go, well, don't worry, because you can use rockets as countermeasures. No, you can't. That has never worked in the history of War Thunder in any meaningful way. So when it comes to that idea, guess what? The F-104G only has 14 rockets as well, so it isn't one of those which has a bunch of them where maybe you can get that to work. So even there, you're kind of screwed with the vehicle. Then you compare it to other vehicles that are around the place, right? So the F-104J, which is the Chinese F-104, which is in a similar position to this, meaning that it just doesn't have any countermeasures, it's on an F-104 platform, very similar speeds, and also has 6 AIM-9Ps, so it actually gets 2 more missiles, which are of similar quality to your best missiles that you have in the vehicle. Guess what? That vehicle is 10.3. And you know when it went down in BR? When I made a review on it saying how stupid it was, that it was at 10.7. Well, welcome to the F-104G. We're in the same point 6 months later, where you have a vehicle which is higher BR than the Japanese one, and it is functionally worse because it has less missiles and no other advantages. Supposedly, according to the stat card for some reason, the F-104G is actually slightly faster than the Japanese one by about 10 or 20 kilometers an hour. The engine of the F-104J is slightly lighter, but gives off the same energy. So I don't know how that works. When it comes to the radar, they're the same. When it comes to the guns, they're the same. And as I said, the J and the P missile are very similar to each other in terms of how they work when it comes to the game. The P actually is slightly better because of mechanics it gets access to. But in my opinion, they're basically the same. But the J gets 2 more of them. So it gets 6 Sidewinders, whereas the F-104G only gets 4. So pray tell me, dear viewer, why is the F-104G a higher BR than the F-104J? And remember, the F-104J went down and they just completely forgot the F-104G exists because nobody plays it. I didn't see a single person play this vehicle while I was spading it. And you have the other F-104Gs, right? You have the German one, you have the Italian one, you have, I think there's a Swedish one nowadays, or maybe a French one. It could be a Belgian F-104. Yeah, it's the Belgian one, the F-104. All of those are countermeasures. All of them. They all have countermeasures and they're higher BRs because of it, and that's completely fine, because they can actually defend themselves. But this F-104G, you cannot defend yourself, because you don't have countermeasures, and if you don't have access to the upgrades that this vehicle gets access to, in terms of like its speed, you just die over and over and over again until you get them. And your only option is to either head on people or to try and get your missiles to work. And this vehicle starts off with 2 AIM-9Es, and then you unlock AIM-9Bs. Oh, wonderful. AIM-9Bs at 10-7. Once again, the exact same BR as you. You have a Chinese premium, which has 4 magic wands. You also have another vehicle, which is at a very similar BR, which it was allowed to go up in BR because it isn't a premium and isn't a vehicle which is spammed all the time by people who don't know what they're doing. The J7E, which has access to 4 PL5Bs. And guess what? You have at 10-7 the F5A Freedom Fighter, which is miles better than this F-104G because it can defend itself, whereas this thing can't. The F-104G was horrific to play. There's no other questions for it. You're at a BR where you're starting to get into the semi-active area. You have F4Es at 11.3, you have Vigans at 11.3, and you have a few other vehicles which are dabbling in it. So you have to stay low to the ground because otherwise you get hit by semi-active missiles. By staying low to the ground, you are not able to actually always defend yourself because your speed is your only defense, and you can just get caught out by people who are going extremely fast above you, and then they just fire missiles down on you. You will not be able to get away from them because you are just not fast enough. And the problem with this is it means that you have to play in a very passive way. You have to stay away from the battlefield. You have to run away from the battlefield in an extremely aggressive way and hope that at some point in this vehicle you will be able to find a 2-on-1, or your team has done well enough so you can go in and help them out and, use your 20mm, which is a very good gun, by the way. The Vulcan is easily the best jet gun, in my opinion, has a lot of rounds, and also at the same time is, just generally easy to aim because of its high rate of fire and high muzzle velocity, but pretty much every American type vehicle has it. So it isn't like a huge upgrade compared to what's already in the competition. And once again, the F5s with their 20mm, they also have really good guns. So it doesn't really matter. The F-104G, though, in its playstyle, you have to go off to the side of the map. You have to let the initial battle happen because you cannot actually fight against people because you don't have countermeasures to be able to stop the missiles. And then what you do is you go in and you hammer and then go through the battle. Hopefully your team hasn't been decimated, and then you return and do the same thing again. And you basically just do gun runs as if you are strafing like a valley as you're moving through. And this is a horrific way to play the game. It isn't fun, it isn't enjoyable, but there isn't any other option. That's the only option you have when it comes to this. There's no other playstyle that you can play. And this vehicle, the only advantage it gets over similar vehicles without countermeasures, it gets access to 2 bullpups, or it gets access to incendiary bombs, or it gets access to 1,000-pounders. And the reason why it'll be at this BR in 10.7, if anybody plays this thing, because once again, as I said, I didn't see a single person play it, is because Gaijin will say, oh, well, you can kill a base with the incendiaries. Yeah, while you die, while you do it. Fantastic. That's just a wonderful, once again, a really nice playstyle we want to promote. Let's use this thing as a dart to be able to destroy a base, and then afterwards just get canned by somebody who's in a premium or in a vehicle which actually has useful stuff. There are so many vehicles around this BR which either have very powerful IR missiles or they have very powerful all-aspect missiles, and you're just sat there like a drab not being able to do anything. It's just horrific. They need to move it down. It isn't even a question. There is no argument that can be made that this vehicle should be at this BR. Everything at this BR is functionally better than it in every single way, and the simple fact that it is allowed to be at this BR while others just have so many different mechanics to defend themselves and also fight is just insane. So this F-104G, we played 41 battles in it to spade it. We had a 61% win rate. We got carried a lot, which was nice. We had 102 air kills and 27 deaths. A 2.5 or a 3-1, but a lot of that was just killing the AIs, because what the hell are you supposed to do in this thing? I basically played as a passenger or a photographer role in most of the battles because there was never an opportunity to go and attack the enemies as I went in. Avoid this aircraft like the plague until Gaijin lowers its BR or moves stuff around. You should not play this vehicle, and you should never play this vehicle you should never play a vehicle around this BR that doesn't have access to countermeasures, because everybody else does, and they're all playing premiums that all are way under BR'd because of the people who play them. Look after yourselves. Peace be with you. I'll see you next time.
I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.